Actually, so I just remembered actually because I haven't thought about this stuff in a while. But another experience that I had with him before that one with me and Lucy was he had pretty much tricked me into sending him nude photos of myself as well. He had basically sent me this whole pitch where he was saying that he was working on this project. He was like doing art for something. And he even sent me like references or like one of the things he supposedly had already drawn and some other stuff. And this was during the time that he was selling weed. And so he had offered to give me like a half ounce or something like that to compensate me for the photos, which was fine with me at the time. This is when we were like younger. I was still like probably 19 or something. So, because I've known him since high school, basically. So this was another time where like he basically had manipulated me into sending these pictures and then never gave me the weed. So that's something else that he would do. And then I remember later, especially after all this stuff broke out, when he would see me, he saw me in Rittenhouse one time and tried to approach me and ask me like, oh, did you still, I can get you that weed or whatever. And this is like way later. And I was just like, no, like I didn't even want anything to do with him at that point. But those are some of the kinds of things that he would do. Those are a couple of my direct experiences. There's one other time that I vaguely remember with us being alone in somebody's house. We were hanging out with somebody, but I think we both were left upstairs by ourselves. And I think even then he like exposed himself to me and like was essentially trying to get me to do something sexual with him. I didn't, but even just being left alone with him, he would try stuff like that and kind of try to put you in a situation to like make you do sexual things. So that also just came to mind. But yeah, that time with Lucy, it absolutely was inappropriate for him to let himself into her room while we're sleeping, into her fucking bed with like no bottoms on. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, we didn't have that kind of relationship with him at all. He was just like someone we saw as like a friend or whatever. So that really upset her. And that's exactly also why she had made that whole post and everything calling him out in the first place, because that's when she realized he was not safe and she no longer felt safe with him. So that also destroyed their relationship. It wasn't that I definitely was not happy with it. She was just more vocal than I was at the time. But it's definitely I wouldn't even say it's a bad assumption. It's really him just trying to salvage his reputation, and I guess trying to use me to do that. But I'm definitely not the one. So, yeah, I absolutely had a problem with it. It's just this is when I was significantly younger, so it was a lot harder to navigate these kinds of situations. And I think for myself, I had more fear than Lucy did of people being violent with me. So I think I was less likely to be vocal and kind of like aggressive in my approach with things because of my fear of having any type of violence or aggression directed back at me. But she didn't really have those kinds of fears, so she was often a lot more vocal and a lot more ready, willing, and able to cut somebody out, essentially. Hey, so first of all, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your integrity, and I completely understand why you are having a hard time with interacting with guys who clearly don't have it. I mean, not to, whatever. This is exactly what, when we hear language like believe women or, stuff like that, it's like literally because of this. Like what you just described are people basically devaluing or not devaluing, minimizing our experiences especially because they weren't there or haven't had to experience the same things. I promise you, most of those guys are most of the people who are minimizing the experiences of people that they weren't around for anyway, and probably don't have the details of, like, you know, most of those people, if he did that shit to them, they would never talk to him again. If men had to worry about other men constantly making sexual advances towards them or constantly making them feel sexually uncomfortable, they would not fuck with them. You know, I mean, we already see rampant, like, homophobia in our communities as it is. Sometimes if you're even believed to be a homosexual, people will be violent towards you in some way or another, you know? So, like, clearly men know what consent is when it comes to themselves, you know? And so, like, that's part of a problem that I'm constantly observing, is that the experiences of women, or generally of other people that you don't share, most of the time people don't give a fuck. They're like, well, I haven't experienced that from him, or I haven't seen him do that, so that means he couldn't be that kind of person. And that's just bullshit conjecture. You know, like, you know, as a guy, you're not going to have the same experiences with Chinedu as a female that he's attracted to would. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, he would respond differently to you. He'd treat you differently. Even the kinds of experiences that y'all would share, or like things that you do together, would be entirely different, you know? And that's from, like, any of your male friends, essentially. They are going to treat the women in their lives differently than men that they're not attracted to, you know? So anyways, like, I really do appreciate the integrity that you have and the nuance that you have, because again, most people completely negate any nuance whatsoever. It doesn't matter if someone's likable. It doesn't mean they cannot be harmful. It doesn't mean we are all capable of harm. I'm capable of harm. You are, like, humans in general are capable of harm. Even babies are capable of harm. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's intentional or not doesn't change the impact that we can have on each other. And so people minimize impact all the time just because they like somebody. You see that all the time in politics, like even with someone like Trump. People believed him to be likable. And because they like him, they just assume that it's not possible for him to be wrong or to do things that they don't like or that they would see as harmful or not okay. So I feel like that's kind of what you're speaking to in regards to what these people are saying. Like, you know, well, I'm cool with him, or he's dope, or I think he's funny, or whatever. And so therefore, somehow that means it's not possible for him to have perpetuated this harmful behavior. And that is cap, is conjecture, is completely untrue. To be honest, I don't know if I'm in a position to give you advice, especially as, like, a femme member of the community. Like, I mean, if I haven't really been able to get people to believe the things that I've said, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you're a man, so they, again, may respond to you differently. But I think talking about integrity is important. You know, wanting to be certain that you're around somebody who's safe, and not just for you, but for other members of the community. How can y'all expect to have female friends and women around in general if you're not willing to protect them from people that they know are predators or don't feel safe around? If you're basically willing to tell them that their experiences don't matter, or because it was a long time ago, it doesn't matter, or something like that, then you don't really care about those people. And that behavior shows that you don't. People feeling safe is important. People feeling listened to, you know, is important. And seeing that their community and their friends are willing to take action to ensure their safety is important. Having integrity is important. Liking somebody doesn't fucking matter, you know, or maybe it does to these people, but then I think it needs to be clear to them that they like a predator. And the reason why they like him is simply because he's not preying on them, so it doesn't matter. It's not something that they have to worry about. They don't have to worry about. I also really appreciated you clocking the kinds of people he keeps around him, because they do tend to travel in packs sometimes too. You know, they know that this person is going to cover for them. Sometimes they do that kind of stuff together. I don't know if Chinedu has, I'm not necessarily specifically speaking about him in this instance, but in general, a lot of these kinds of guys do travel in the same circles because they condone each other's behavior. And more than likely are willing to protect each other in that behavior and vouch for each other. So I also appreciate you noticing, like, oh, well, he's also hanging out with this other guy who has a lot of the same allegations, But yeah, I think that if you are to bring this up, I would also bring it. I mean, talking to people individually first can be helpful. Before bringing in group dynamics, especially if you're the sole person speaking out against a behavior or an injustice. And then again, it's like, yeah, people can change, but if there's no evidence of change, and there's also really has been no true recourse, like if they haven't had any real reason to change, because they're supported or still able to move about in their communities like shit is fine, then they don't have any reason to change. Essentially, they got away with it. The only people holding them accountable are the people who were directly impacted by their behavior. And as we can see, in a lot of cases, those people aren't, how they feel, what they think, and what they experienced does not matter the same. Something I used to say often is that men generally don't see women as members of their community. They don't generally see women as people they're in community with. They always say that about guys, but they're our friends. It's different. It's like, oh, okay, so you're also saying that women can't be your friends. So when you have these kinds of mindsets, it does come out in how they end up interacting, And so, again, how we feel, what we think, what we experience ends up being minimized and seen as not as significant as a result. It's insignificant next to what they think about that guy, how much they like him, what they experienced from him. But predators also aren't predators towards everybody. Most of the time, they do craft some type of, reputation that makes them really cool to other people and likable, and that protects them. It acts as a shield. I'm happy to continue conversation with you about this, and maybe like brainstorming or just processing together. I would love to be helpful. I really am grateful and appreciative of your concern and consideration, and again, of your integrity of not wanting to be associated with someone like that. And I know it's hard, especially when you're building a career and collaborating with folks, and how that may kind of ostracize you from your community as a result. But unfortunately, that tends to happen to folks who have actual integrity and aren't willing to just overlook stuff because they like somebody. We see that all the time in our culture, unfortunately. But, I'm happy to support in any ways that I can. And specifics are helpful for me, especially as far as like advice is concerned. So, whatever you feel like sharing, whatever you feel inclined to share. And if you have like specific questions and stuff that can be helpful for you to determine how to move forward or how to have certain conversations with people, I'm definitely happy to help. Thank you for reaching out. And again, thank you for your sensitivity as well. I may be to a point where I don't have a hard time talking about this stuff, but I know a lot of other people tend to. So I appreciate your awareness of that, and you know, being considerate of that. But I'm happy to speak out at any point in time to anybody, anywhere. You know, I don't have a problem talking about it at all. So whatever I can do to help, please let me know.